Hello everyone and welcome along to another video. This one is a touch of a carry-on from what we've had over the last 4 weeks with a look into and a reviewing of the Rugby Championship matches. Now I hope you have all enjoyed that side of things, and there'll be plenty more to come on that in the future as well, starting off with a couple more matches that have no bearing apart from a Bledisloe Cup this weekend, but that will be for another video on another day, hopefully later on today or tomorrow. That one should be out, but for now I'm going to have a look back at the actual Rugby Championship 3 rounds, and I thought after the idea of coming up for a Team of the Week for the subscriber series, I thought, well, you know, what a good idea to do a Team of the Rugby Championship. Now, of course, as you may well know, if you've watched other opinion pieces I've done, I can be pretty opinionated with what I think about certain players and things like that. So, with that in mind, I decided to make a top 15 from the Rugby Championship. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are going to disagree with things I may think, and some of you may even agree, but the main thing is we can have a discussion about it. So if you have other opinions on these matters, do leave it in the comments. It's always good to have a chat about certain things regarding rugby. So without any further ado, let's get into the top 15, the starting 15 for my team of the Rugby Championship. And we're going to start in the front row, where it all begins and where it all ends. And our first 3 players, the front row, starting with loose head, hooker, and of course tight head, will be Ihertsa at loose head, Creevy, hooker, and Yanni du Plessis on the tight head side. Now, of course, I'm not just going to give you my exact team and no reasoning behind it, but these ones really do pick themselves. Now, Ihertsa and Creevy, well, Ihertsa alone was fantastic in that last match against South Africa, and that's really a lot of these Argentinians in this team pick themselves with that display that we have just waited and waited to see from them. I think Ihertsa was strong throughout the competition. Creevy was fantastic right from the outset, that first match against the All Blacks, and he carried on and led from the front like every good captain was. Yanni du Plessis really picked himself when he didn't play. Now, that may not seem or sound very logical, but when he didn't play in that last match against Argentina is when they really, really missed him. He was completely missed massively by the Springboks, and that really hit home, especially to me, about how much of a stronghold he was, that front row for the Springboks. He was huge, and when they lost him, they really lost their way. Of course, the replacement arguably was not up to the speed of international test rugby, but Yanni du Plessis, a fantastic player, and really the only one to stand out from the tight head side of all the sides. Now, you may say, no Wallabies or no All Blacks in that front row, but, you know, South Africa and Argentina are such forward-dominated sides, big players as well, that it's really no surprise that those 3 are in there, and no one else really tested them at all. So into the second row, and my 2 locks will be Dean Mumm and Lavanini. One from Australia, one from Argentina. Now this was a hard position to really pick, and we'll start with Dean Mumm. I was a bit sceptical on how Dean Mumm would offer to the Wallabies, but he was very good when he came off the bench against Argentina. He impressed, and then starting against the All Blacks, he was very good as well. And for a competition where the locks were not quite up to the standard is where Lavanini comes in. He was very good against South Africa, extremely good against South Africa, and solid everywhere else. You know, they chopped and changed their second rows quite a lot, Argentina, and never really found much consistency aside from Lavanini. So that's why he's there. Dean Mumm was strong and powerful, scored that fantastic try against Argentina as well, albeit some illegal play prior to that, but he still did a fantastic job carrying all those players and scoring that try as well, and against the All Blacks as well. But there's not much competition coming in there, like the likes of Retalika and Mano for the All Blacks weren't as dominating as you'd normally expect from them. The Springboks, Ebenezer Beef, you could say, deserves to be there. He was very good, and I possibly did consider him for Lavanini, but I just thought the impact on the Argentinian side gets the nod for Lavanini for me. He was really the mainstay in their second row and a big part of their game plan as well. So even it's a bit possible in there as well. But apart from that, they're the only ones who really stood out. And that really folds on as well into the back row with our flankers and number 8. I'm going to go with Vardy at 6, Pocock at 7, and Schalkberger at 8. Now, this could be controversial for anyone out there listening, but Vardy, this one was again difficult. Blindside flankers who played exceedingly well. You know, you've got Vardy, he played everything for the Wallabies, so that's really why he's there. Consistency, he did nothing wrong, and he was as solid as a rock for the whole competition. He really held together that back row. They had the explosiveness of Hooper and Pocock outside him, but he was rock steady all competition long, which is why he's got the nod. You know, the likes of Brousseau I thought was very good for South Africa. But, you know, South Africa were very poor in the competition, and it's hard to pick players, even though they performed well, you know, when they can't perform as a team. So Brousseau kind of lost out for the consistency and result-wise for the Wallabies as well, when he was just Mr. Consistent in that team. So that's why Vardy's there. You know, Brousseau's unlucky. He was very good against the All Blacks as well, before taking on his last match against Argentina, where he did fade off a bit. But Vardy at 6, Pocock, if you've watched the matches, you'll know why Pocock's there. He's fantastic. He was brilliant against the All Blacks. Absolutely brilliant. And when he did play that match at 7 as well, I thought he was better than Hooper. He was better than Hooper. They played about 2 games each, if you give and take substitutes and playing together and stuff like that. But I think Pocock was the better open-sider for the Wallabies. And really, they did. And they were the shining light in that match, in the whole competition, I should say. You know, Richie McCaw was not up to his best, and that's no surprise either. South Africa had a lot of number 7s in their team. They went with pretty much 3-7, 3 open-siders for a lot of their matches as well, playing Burger at 8, but just didn't have the impact and the dominance that Pocock, so strong over the ruck as well. And that's why he's there. He was the main reason why the Wallabies did so well, especially against the All Blacks as well. So number 8, Schalkberger, and I cannot justify anyone arguing with this. Schalkberger, I think, was the player of the tournament. Now, it's hard to justify that coming from a team that lost all 3 of its matches, but consistently, week after week, minute after minute, Schalkberger was right there involved, making meters, going forward, huge tackles, leading his side massively. You could blame him possibly for the loss against the All Blacks, not pushing to have the scrums played normally and going for the golden oldies kind of scrum. Some blame may be placed on him for that. It's hard to say, but generally around the field, his play and his effect on the matches was second to none. He's a fantastic player. Never thought I'd see him play so well at 8, but there we go. Great for South Africa. Again, it's hard to justify a spot, but I think he was the most consistent player in the whole competition. It was great to see Schalk flying at such a high level as well, which is great for South Africa. I think this is not a setback for their World Cup chances at all, but that again is another video for another day. But I think South Africa getting so close against the All Blacks and the Wallabies are definitely there or thereabouts following this competition. So onto the back lines, and the controversy does not end right there either. Number 9, the scrum halves, the half-backs. This is going to get some going, possibly. It's a tough call, this, and I had 2 names here that I was really tossing up between, and that was Aaron Smith and Kubeli from Argentina. Now, in the end, I've gone for Aaron Smith just because Aaron Smith on a bad day is still as good as anyone else on a good day. I mean, Kubeli was absolutely top shelf, brilliant against South Africa, but his other opportunities when he'd come off the bench or did start, he wasn't that impactful. I think Aaron Smith, when he played against the Wallabies, didn't have the best of game. There's no questioning that at all, but he was still good enough and played at a high level. He his passes were hitting the men. There was no Nick Phibbses going on out there with wayward passes. He was a bit off his game, but it was still good enough to be right up there. And, you know, he was still the best halfback on the field in that game, and that was probably his worst match in years. Kubeli averaged and then peaked at the end. I think Aaron Smith was pretty good throughout the competition. His rugby smarts is what gets him over the line. You know, getting Kipu that yellow card just from a tap and running into it, forcing him to make the tackle against the Wallabies that game. You know, that's the kind of stuff that, you know, form doesn't affect. That's just clever, and that is just intelligence right there. Aaron Smith, contentious call again, but I think he was definitely the best number 9, and he is still the best in the world. Now again, we go to the first 5/fly half, number 10s, and I'm going to be controversial once again, and I'm going to put Matt Toomua there. Now, you may be scratching your heads here, but I've gone for Toomua simply because his impact off the bench every single week was huge. The Wallabies, they would have just faltered completely without Tumua's impact off the bench. And even though I know, like, a lot of you are probably screaming at me right now saying, but he's an inside centre. But let's be fair, he comes on at inside centre and he does shift. He changes, he alternates with whoever's playing at fly half, you know, and he keeps the defence guessing in that respect. In that last match against the All Blacks, he did actually, as far as I'm aware, do a straight replacement for Foley while Giteau was still on the field. I don't know if that is where it ended up exactly, but I think Tumua's impact and the way he changed the game when he come off the bench, I don't want to put him at 12 because you probably already know who the centre pairing is going to be, but I do not want to separate them, which is going to give it away. That's why Toomua had to go to 10. Again, honourable mentions goes to the Argentinians. Juan Martin Hernandez. Oh, well, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. As I've said a couple of times already, and I thought Juan Martin Hernandez was going to be, well, not the difference himself completely, but I thought someone other than Sanchez needed to be brought in to test out this Argentinian backline to see if just the lack of form of Sanchez was holding them back, and then bang, Juan Martin Hernandez happened, and he was fantastic. He just misses out. I think Toomua was brilliant, and he'll start at 10 for me, but Hernandez, if he played all tournament like that, would have had that spot glued down. Now the centre pairing, this is the one I spoke of just before. It has to be Dealandi and Kriel. No one else can go there. They were phenomenal together. No one could even touch those two spots, especially outside centre, where Jesse Kriel was just about the best player in the tournament as well. Most impactful, you know, biggest new name to burst onto the scene as well, Jesse Kriel. Dealandi is there just because Kriel is really, you have one, you have the other, and there wasn't too much. Giteau was decent, I thought. For the All Blacks, not much else was happening there, you know, and Argentina as well. The midfield wasn't spectacular. You know, Marcelo Bosch maybe getting a mention. De La Fonte weren't spectacular. I think Dealandi and Kriel together were top of the class. Now on to the wingers, and I've gone with Piutau on the left, Charles Piutau from the All Blacks, and Adam Ashley Cooper on the right. Now, Warnimoff is another one I've got here that was unlucky to miss out, but that was, you know, he really shone in that win against the Springboks. Piutau was fantastic as well in the match where he got man of the match against the Springboks. So he gets the nod just on the left wing over Imhoff. On the right, Adam Ashley Cooper. We know how good Adam Ashley Cooper was. He's spectacular all year. He was, you know, the best winger, no question, throughout that competition. Scored tries. Brilliant on defence. He's underrated defensively, how much he impacts the game with his rushing defence straight out and shutting down moves before they get a chance to happen. But it is Piutau and Adam Ashley Cooper on the wings. No simple choices, those ones, I think. You know, Savea was in no form at all. Milner Scudder just had the one game to impact it, but that wasn't really enough to push himself into the side. As for South Africa, you know, Habana, not his best year so far for him. The other wing was a lot of changes as well, but in the end, Adam Ashley Cooper was the consistent. Piutau was the star as well on the left. At fullback, I've gone for Ben Smith. Now, Ben Smith is a spectacular player, and fullback is a tough position, especially when you have two other big names as well, Willie Leroux and Israel Folau. Ben Smith gets a nod for me just because of his versatility, playing on the wing as well, scoring big tries, his elusiveness in the tackle as well. Willie le Roux had a very good Rugby Championship. I think he's unlucky not to get there. Folau was good, but not spectacular. I think it was between Willie le Roux and Ben Smith. Le Roux was better as the competition went on. The less he kicked, the more impactful he was. He scored some fantastic tries. We all know he's got the skill and ability to do it. I think Ben Smith never has a bad game. He's always on top of the world, and he is the ultimate fullback for me and should always be there in that number 15 jumper for the All Blacks. So, there is my 15, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this little look into my brain as to what's happened over the last 4 weeks. I'm interested to see what you all think about this as well. I thought about this and I thought I've probably got too many South Africans or too many Argentinians in here. But the split in the end would come out with the Wallabies having the most players. So what the Wallabies have got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players involved. So that's the Wallabies. The All Blacks have just 3 players in the top 15. Just 3 players, which is, that's huge for the All Blacks to only have 3 players in a 14 competition best of, in my opinion. The Argentinians come in with 3 players as well. Ihertsa, Creevy and Lavanini, all in the forward pack, which excelled over the season. And the South Africans round out the team with 4 players coming in through them. So they finished bottom, but they have the second biggest representation. But I think it's fair to say Wallabies with 5, South Africa with 4, New Zealand and Argentina with 3 each. I think that's fair enough. You know, the team that won got the 5 players, and that was straight off the top of my head. That wasn't specifically made that way so the Wallabies were more represented or anything like that. So I'm interested to see what you all think. Get in touch with me in the comments down here. Of course, you can get in touch with me on Twitter as well, at CornflakesCrib. Hit me up on there. Always have some huge, great conversations going on Twitter. It's a great place to be involved as well. Let me know if you disagree with someone, of who you'd think deserves to be there instead. I'm always interested to see everyone else's opinions, which makes things interesting. You learn so much about seeing things from different perspectives as well. So let me know what you all think, and let me know what you think of the team as well, which will always be cool. And I'll see you on the next video, wherever we may end up. But for now, for today, that is me done and dusted. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Let me know your opinions, and I'll see you all next time. Until then, take care.